Hello and welcome to See Here, which today comes from the Royal Society for the Arts in central London. Guests are arriving here for the Communicator of the Year Awards ceremony, and excitement is beginning to mount. The awards were established in 1990 by the RNID to honour those who've used their communication skills to help others. Let's go and join them.
What I would like to do is to welcome you all to this 4th Communicator of the Year Awards. In the last 4 years, we've had marvellous occasions, and this is no exception. And what RNIDP is trying to do with these awards is to highlight the importance of good communication. And if one thinks about that for a moment, you'll also find that bad communication can be very damaging indeed. And these awards are designed to recognise and pay tribute to the people who have made a special effort or achieved something special in the past year. To make the presentations, we're really honoured to have Sir Robin Day. And now, Sir Robin is one of the nation's greatest communicators. Some of us think the greatest communicator, but he's had a very distinguished and outstanding career. And I'm delighted to welcome him tonight for 3 reasons. Firstly, because he really is a very distinguished man. Secondly, because he's an old friend and colleague, and we've worked together on Panorama and on other programmes in the BBC when the old Lime Grove was going. And thirdly, because I'm pleased to ruin his public image as an ogre of the television box, because he really is a very nice bloke indeed.
I'd much prefer not to begin by creating trouble, because that is not in my nature. But I'm not really a very suitable person to do what I've been asked to do, that is to pontificate about the power of communication. In fact, I'm rather surprised to find myself here at all, because there was a curious and perhaps offensive, indeed even defamatory reference to me the other day by Mr. Clive James, the well-known balding Australian wit. In an interview in the Times, Mr. James, who, believe it or not, says he's only 54, was bemoaning the approach of senility. Would he wondered, be able to earn his living for much longer on television? Would the BBC throw him prematurely on the scrap heap? All this anxiety was expressed because Mr. Clive James is distressed at the treatment which he sees meted out to the older generation of television communicators. And I quote, "Such people as Ludovic Kennedy and Sir Robin Day," I don't know what he means by such people as Sir Robin Day, "such people as Ludovic Kennedy and Sir Robin Day should have gone from strength to strength in their later years. Instead, they have disappeared. It is a terrible waste." So you may think it's odd to see me here today, like Banquo's ghost still hovering around, to talk about the power of communication, which, if I ever had, I have now apparently lost, owing to my disappearance. Now, of course, I'm the first to admit that television fame is extremely ephemeral. My taxi driver only the other day said to me, "Oh, Sir Robin, I do like that Thursday night programme with David Dimbleby. It's very good, you know." And I said, "Very, very good indeed." And he turned to me and he said, "Mark you, it's not the same since Peter Sissons." Nonetheless, Nonetheless, to say that I've disappeared is like the Press Association's report, which Lord Ashley quoted of Mark Twain's death, probably an exaggeration. I prefer to think of myself rather as an extinct volcano. My life is moving peacefully towards its close as I ride gracefully into the sunset. Or, to put it more bluntly, in the words of one lady viewer who wrote to me recently, I have reached the departure lounge of life. Ladies and gentlemen, I am only happy that my flight has been delayed long enough to enable me to present these awards at the Royal National Institute for Deaf People.
Now, the Communicator of the Year award has been won by a very famous international actor who has used his communication skills to a very remarkable extent. And he's done so with clarity and with courage and with dignity. And that is Sir Ian McKellen. And I'm delighted to announce that he did win the award.
Good evening, Lord Ashley, and everyone who's there with you, and I'm sorry that I'm not too. I hope no one will take my absence as indifference to receiving this award as Communicator of the Year. The communicating I've done of late as a gay man has been at least as satisfying personally to me as any communicating that I've done over the years as an actor, but I would like to make it clear that my prior engagement this evening is of a professional nature. I shall actually be in a field somewhere filming in Dorset and not completing any campaign to run as a member of the European Parliament. Over the years, I've made it a rule only ever to speak in public about subjects that I not only care about, but about which I have direct personal experience, which in the past has meant the arts in general and theatre in particular, and of late, of course, as a gay man. I think my contribution to the Age of Consent campaign earlier in the year was a little bit distorted in that the media decided that I was one of the very few openly gay people they were prepared to talk to. And I hope they soon grow up and realize that there's a whole range of gay experience and many, many people who can address the issues that involve us all. And another deep hope I have that in the future, Chris Smith, the only openly gay member of Parliament, will be joined by other lesbian and gay politicians in Westminster. And the rest of you can perhaps see how deep the oppression is for lesbians and gay men in the United Kingdom, when gay politicians who are prepared to talk about any subject under the sun find that they have to be equivocal with the truth about their own sexuality. They are frankly frightened of losing their jobs, and in that they are allied to many, many thousands of lesbians and gay men in this country. One of my friends who is certainly not in that category is my mentor and fellow actor, Michael Cashman, and I'm very grateful to him for being there as my representative this evening. And I'm reminded that Michael and I were in a production of Bent at the Royal National Theatre, which I think was the first play here ever to be signed for deaf people. Since then, thanks to the enthusiasm of British Gas and hundreds of deaf theatre goers, there have been over 40 other productions signed, and that will continue and strengthen, and I'm very glad to have been there at the outset of that initiative. So now, thank you very much indeed for this award, and I send my best wishes for a wonderful evening. And here is Michael Cashman. Goodbye.
We move on, and we have a surprise award tonight because the judges, men and women alike, were very impressed by one of the applicants, or one of the groups of applicants, and that was the BBC's 8 a.m. news interpreters. The judges were very taken with these. But as Ian had got the first prize, what we decided was to have a special award, a special prize for these four wonderful, wonderful people who comprise of that team. Could you come forward, please?
Good morning to you from Andrew and me. The time is 8 o'clock on Wednesday, the 22nd of June.
The See Here Deaf Impact Award is for people who've made a major impact in the field of deafness. And again, the judges had a difficult time, and it's encouraging that so much is being done for deaf people and with deaf people in so many walks of life. And the standard was so high that on this occasion, the judges decided exceptionally on two special awards as runners-up, because both of these people have made a major impact in the field of deafness. They really have done outstanding work. And the first one was Lorraine Callow, who was profoundly deaf from birth. And Lorraine was the founder of the Advice Centre Deaf Works. And she's been involved in the training and advisory service for deaf people. She's a teacher of the deaf and a qualified counsellor. And she's really made a tremendous contribution to the lives of many deaf people. And so she's actually an agony aunt for See Here. One day I'll write her with my problems, but for tonight, including financial, but for tonight, let's celebrate Lorraine's award. Lorraine.
Hello, this is DeafWorks.
DeafWorks is based here, and we certainly have a number of projects. It was really set up 2 or 3 years ago, and it's funny because it all started with a table and a telephone in my bedroom at home. On the first day I sat twiddling my thumbs, but then gradually the phone calls started coming in, and as they increased we moved here, and that was about 2 years ago, and it's growing all the time. We have about 8 or 9 freelance deaf people involved. They do teaching, research, counselling and writing. So we have a number of deaf people involved, and it's really nice to see them running their own projects. DeafWorks is a bit different because, well, it's not a charity. It's actually our own business. Now, it's different because we use deaf freelance people, which means that we're all in positions of power, and that makes us very different from other organisations, and that's good. Okay, now we need to know the cost, how big and where. Could you do that for me, please? Thanks. Now, hearing magazines have a very popular feature, which is the problem page. And about 2 years ago, the RNID, who have their own magazine in conjunction with See Here, decided to include a problem page and asked me to be involved. I was really shocked, but thought, well, it'd be a good challenge, so said I'd try. We had discussions and then tried to encourage deaf people to write in, obviously informing them that everything would remain confidential, which is important. Only 2 people would ever see the correspondence, and so it would be confidential. Now, I had been on a counselling training course which proved very useful because I applied these skills to writing good responses. I really enjoy being an agony aunt, as it's called. Some of the problems I've dealt with are things like troublesome neighbours, benefits, and lots of letters about loneliness, and that is a real big problem area. It needs more research into, but it's mainly the elderly and deafened people who suffer a great deal of loneliness. But it's a great challenge. My ambitions? Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, 20 years ago, I'd never have dreamed of setting up something like this. And 20 years ahead is impossible to foresee. I hope to encourage more projects to be set up and have more deaf people qualify, and hopefully things develop. I think that's my ambition. Then I can retire. Be a lady of leisure and let the younger ones do the work. Perhaps.
I would just like to say, like to accept this for all deaf people who want to do their own thing. Go for it. Thank you.
The other runner-up was Rosemary Cooper, who was a former Lord Mayor of Liverpool, and Rosemary's helped to raise deaf awareness among Merseyside school children with some very remarkable initiatives. She's been really involved and eager and anxious to help. And some of her ploys, I can only call them ploys, have been absolutely magnificent. I'm a bit jealous of them, really.
It was a great honour to be chosen as the Lord Mayor of Liverpool, and I thought it was important to promote Liverpool both nationally and internationally during my year of office. But as a child of deaf parents, I also thought it was time to put the deaf community first as well, and we tried to highlight during my year of office the communication needs of deaf people. Some of the ideas and the work we began while I was Lord Mayor, I hope will continue for many, many, many years. For example, we reached a whole generation of school children in Liverpool. 65,000 school children were asked to learn the manual alphabet and raise money in order to buy minicoms for the deaf, text machines for the deaf, to enable them to use a telephone like anybody else. Now, hopefully, that will go on until every single deaf person has access to a telephone. I think it's important to not just promote deaf awareness, and I do think there's a general increasing level of awareness throughout the country, but I think we have to increase understanding of the deaf community, of deaf people, of their language and their culture. Just being aware will no longer be enough. I think we ought to get more people involved and to understand. I think it's very, very important that all members in the deaf community, I, who am hearing but of a deaf family, knows that anything is possible. We can all achieve anything. There are a number of people who believe that because you're either deaf or you're part of a deaf family, that you can't be the best. I actually believe there's nothing you can do there's nothing that you can't do if you want to do it. It's a great honour, and I'm delighted to receive this certificate. Can I say many, many people have helped me, but the two most important people were my parents, both deaf. My late mother isn't here to see this, but Dad, this is for you. Thanks very much.
The winner of this year's Deaf Impact Award has had a marvellous newspaper column in the Belfast Telegraph. It is the only column in the world which is devoted to the coverage of deaf issues, and he's also been involved in running competitions for deaf children. I think the impact of this man in Northern Ireland and beyond in the field of deafness and the contribution he's made to the lives of so many deaf people is a very remarkable one and deserves very high praise indeed. So, warmest congratulations to Bob McCulloch.
My column is called Deaf Talk About. I write about everything that concerns the deaf community. Deaf people send me letters about badminton competitions, 10-pin bowling, football tournaments. But I feel that I must also concentrate on the important issues within the deaf community, like cochlear implants, the education of deaf children. Because at the same time, my column must be for all deaf people in Northern Ireland. Not just the profoundly deaf, but the hard of hearing, the deafened, the deaf-blind, and also parents of deaf children, teachers, social workers, doctors. Hearing people too are interested, and read the column to learn about the deaf community.
Bob, what are you doing for your column this week?
Yes, I'm going to write about smoke alarms for deaf people.
Sounds good. Well, keep up the good work and I'll see you later.
I feel that when a deaf person writes for a newspaper like this, one should try to avoid a deaf gossip style and focus on the important issues that attract hearing people's attention. Some people say that my column is more suitable for hearing people than it is for the deaf, and I think in a sense that is right, because I'm educating them about the deaf community. Deaf people's response has been very good, with an influx of phone calls to my home and visits. They write letters to me. I feel that I've got to keep my ear to the ground and know all that's happening in the deaf community. My involvement with TV began with the programme controller of Ulster Television. He contacted me because he'd read my column in the Belfast Telegraph and he wanted to know how deaf people could be involved in television. So I met with him and brought some other colleagues like John Carberry from the RNID, and that's how it really started. But before we could start using deaf people on TV, they had to be trained. We advertised in the newspapers and selected a number of people. It's been successful. After 4 years, very successful. We have 2 deaf signers, Raymond Abernethy and Mary McKernan every day at 5 to 7 on BBC. At the moment, most deaf people are very happy with it, but many would like to see deaf signers back on UTV as well. I am a very busy man. I'm involved in many different organisations. I'm a chairman and the writer for the Deaf Talk About column. I've a full-time job as a member of the Board of Governors for Jordan's School. I'm in the advisory committee for the RNID in Belfast. So sometimes I feel I'm too busy, but I enjoy it. I like being involved with the deaf community.
Thank you for this award. I feel an honour not only for me but also for the deaf community of Northern Ireland. I am very proud of the way the deaf community of Northern Ireland for the past 25 years have kept friends with each other. Communication has never failed between the two colleagues or persons. Also, I feel the deaf community of Northern Ireland are very warm, generous and friendly. We come for a cup of tea that they ask to stay for dinner. Lovely people there. Please come and see us sometime. Finally, I would like to say, people ask me, how do I manage to do so many different things? I tell you, because of my wife. My wife is my proofreader, my secretary, my support, my best friend. Thanks to her, I can do these things. Thank you again.
Well, it's been a wonderful evening, and congratulations to all of the nominees. It's been marvellous. Now, as we all know, communication is an extremely powerful tool. In everyday life, communication can manipulate things and control society entirely. But sometimes, communication can be a powerful oppressor. On the other hand, it can be used, as we've seen today, to achieve equal rights for deaf people. Well, I'm going to have a drink now. Bye-bye.